All right, here's take two. I am at Rankin Technical College today, and I am in a conference room in our kind of our auxiliary building. And for some reason, even though it said I was logged into the Rankin network, I wasn't, so it kept failing. But now hopefully I'm on. I want to start by going over this email that I sent out yesterday. For a guy who said he wasn't going to send out any emails yesterday, I sent out two of them. Well, this was the second one, so let's go over this. Again, I have had more than one student talk about problems they had, especially with the chapter 17, where you had to work with the file in the extra exercises. All right, and the students reported getting a system exception that said the file was already open. I tried to come up with a fix that I found online, but according to at least one of the students, that fix did not work. So as it says right here, and I am still looking at it. All right. I mean, I was up looking at it this morning, so I am taking a look at it. I'm going to try a few different things again today. So as I said here, in the spirit of fairness, I'm going to do the following. I've decided to take the two extra exercises for chapter 17 and 18. All right, so that's 17-1 and 18-1 and make them each extra credit. So you don't have to do them if you don't want to. All right, but it gives you the chance, if you want to get 10 points of extra credit. So again, as it says there, it's your choice if you want to complete these problems or not. I want them in. I want all your homework in by this Sunday. All right. We're getting to the end. We literally have 3 weeks of class after this week. All right. So next week is the week of the 31st, then the week of the 7th, then the week of the 14th. That's it. All right. So you originally had all your homework for chapters 17 and 18. All that homework was due yesterday. I pushed it all off. So if you want to do those two problems, 17-1 and or 18-1, and get anywhere up to 20 points of extra credit, you can do that. Must be in by Sunday at midnight. I don't want to see it next week. All right. It's extra credit. So no. All right. So the extra credit is definitely due by then. I've also pushed the due date for the written tests for chapters 17 and 18 to midnight this Sunday as well. Those are required. All right, they're worth 10 points each. Finally, as it says at the link worksheet, and we went over two of the three problems. All right, we went over two of the three problems last week. All right, you'll have to go back and check what tape those were. All right, but that is also due Monday or Sunday rather by midnight. And again, this is also required. As it says, if you've got any problems with this, any concerns with this, if you think I'm being unfair and you want to send me an email, feel free to do that. I'm trying to be as fair as I can to everyone in the class. And as far as this link worksheet, I sent it out again, but this was it right here. We did the song search as a class. That's online, so you just have to replicate that. We did the employee search as a class. All right, so you have to replicate that. Finally, I started this, and what I mean is I showed you how you can use a text file, okay, to go and read in 10 grades. I've got that part of it done. I did not build this GUI. You have to go in and build that. You have to go in and do the stuff that's in here. That's why the first two are worth 25 points each. And this last one, since the majority of the work you're doing, that is worth 50 points. All right. So that's it for that. Oh, this is great, isn't it? All right. So that was the first thing. that I sent you out last night. As far as today's stuff, here it is. Again, as it says, as I mentioned earlier, we are in day 40. All right, today we're going to go on with some more MySQL examples. I'm going to build a couple programs from scratch. Here's a warning. The second program is a work in progress. So I'm going to build it for you. We'll see how much of it works and how much of it doesn't work. What I'll do is everything I'm doing today, I will save into a GitHub repository. So if you're interested, if you want to go back and look at it, that's fine. All right. If I don't finish the GUI app today, I'll try to work on it this weekend, finish it up on Monday. There's a very good chance that next week, the amount of lecturing I'm going to do is going to be limited. All right. I might lecture 1 day, 2 days, but it won't be any more than that. So again, you will get at least 2 days next week for lab, followed by 4 days the next week, followed by 4 days the following week. And that's all for you to sit and finish up any extra exercises or homework that you have, any labs that you have, any written tests that you have, the project, which I'll talk about again next week, and the portfolio. All right, we're going to go over all that stuff again next week. So again, as it says here, as I redid this, your chapters 17 and 18 written tests and extra exercises. Remember, these extra exercises are both for extra credit. They're not mandatory. But the 17 and 18 written tests and the chapter 19 written test are mandatory, and they're all due by this Sunday, 7:30. All right, by midnight. Okay. All right. With that said, then let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. All right. I was originally going to work with a bigger database, but I decided to work with a smaller one. So I have XAMPP up and running, as you can see, and I even have in here someplace, at least I did, and now it looks like I don't. All right, so let's bring up PHP MyAdmin. Okay, all right. Now, one of the databases I believe I gave you the other day, I'm not sure, but I believe I gave you the other day, was this Acme widget database. All right, there are 3 tables in it: a department table, an employee table, and a state table. So if we take a very quick look at each one of these, we have 7 departments, very simple, a department code and a department name. They're not in any alphabetic order. They're in order based on code number. All right, then we have our 50 states. This shouldn't be anything new to you. All right, so there, and then we got a second page worth of states here. All right, and there they are. So each state, again, the primary key in there is a state code. So the primary key in the first one in the department was an int. The primary key here, all right, and I really could have just put it in as a number as well, but it's a code. All right, and then finally, we've got this employee table. We have a total of 11 employees. Don't worry about this one, that's me. I just was jacking around with this the other day. All right, so I'm actually in there twice. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about that later, okay? In fact, I should be able to go into this one right here and delete that record. Do I really wish to delete it where equals yes? Okay, so now it's gone. I could have written a command to do that as well, but this was just as easy to do it here. So the first thing I'm about to do right now is I'm going to come in and from scratch, I'm going to come in and I'm going to build, I'm going to come in and from scratch, I am going to build an application. All right. And this application that we're going to be building here, all right, this application is going to be a console application. I'm looking through because, yes, I do have some notes here if I can find them. There's my notes. Okay, So we're going to come in and we're going to create, it's going to be very, very simple. I'm going to make a console application that all it's going to do is hook up to this database. All right. And after it hooks up to this database, it is going to go and basically produce all of this stuff on screen for each one of the tables. All right. If you say, I don't understand, then bear with me a little bit, and I think you will. All right. So I'm going to create a folder in here that I'm just going to call MySQL DB apps, DB for database. So MySQL DB apps. Then I'm going to start up here, and I was running some stuff before, so don't let this worry you. All right. I'm just going to start from scratch right here. Now I'm looking on here. Okay. All right. So let's start up Visual Studio. All right. And I'm going to create a new project. This is again going to be a console app in the .NET framework. And I'm just going to call it MySQL console project right there. And I'm going to put the solution into just a thing that's called MySQL DB, just MySQL DB. So this will be MySQL. Let's change that to DB. So we're going to call this MySQL DB console project. In a little bit, we'll build MySQL DB GUI project. All right. And the solution name will just be MySQL DB. Let's put it into the folder that I just created. So that's MySQL DB apps. There's nothing in there, as you can see. Select the folder. It's all set now. Create. Remember, since this is a console app, there'll be no GUI in it whatsoever. I want to say that again. Since this is a console app, there will be no GUI in it whatsoever. Now, I have to do a little bit of, for lack of better words, finagling here in order to be able to bring in MySQL. If I go in right now and I go into my references, you'll see all the references that I have there. I'm not going to read any of them to you, but what is not there is a reference that I need to MySQL itself that's called MySQL.data. So I have to bring that in. All right. Now, with what I'm about to show you, especially those of you who will be in the AWD1100 class, the Database-Driven Web Development 2 class in fall, all right, this will be kind of some importance to you, all right? And what I mean is, this is something you're going to do on a very regular basis. Now, there's different ways of doing it. I'm going to do it in what I consider to be the easiest and most straightforward way possible. So I'm going to select Tools from right here. And about halfway down, there's something that says NuGet Package Manager. All right. What this does is it allows me to go out to the internet and take stuff that Microsoft has made available, pull it out from there and bring it into my program. So I want to choose, we're going to do these two next semester, but for now, the only one I care about is Manage NuGet Packages for Solution, the middle option. Manage NuGet Packages for Solution. And I'm going to click on that. And it brings up a new interface here that we have not seen before. And it says, okay, right now installed, you've got nothing, which is what you'd expect because it's a brand new project. But I want to go over to Browse here. All right. And I want to type in MySQL, just like that. And you'll notice it finds a couple matches. The only one that we care about is this first one, MySQL.data. So I double click on it and it brings it over here and it says, what do you want to do? I want to bring it into my project. So I'm clicking that checkbox there, which clicks them both. All right. So you can see right now it's not installed. I'm grabbing the latest version. It appeared to work okay. So I'm just going to click install. Now, when you do yours, you're going to get another box that comes up. All right. I've already said that I didn't want that box to come up anymore. All right. But you're going to get a box that comes up that says basically, there'll be like an OK button on it. Just click OK. That'll get you to this one. And then click I accept. Now, what you'll notice when you look in here is there's a whole bunch more of these things that are coming in here. One of them is MySQL.data, which is what I am going to be using. Again, this is what I am going to be using to take and make what's available, all right, on my machine into that database from PHP admin and bring it into my program. So I'm going to close references now. All right. Now I can now close this. If I wanted to bring in other stuff, I could do that. I don't. So I'm going to close this. All right. Now I've got using system and using a whole bunch of other stuff up here. I'll leave the system up here. All right. And I'm going to add two more things. The first is the one I've been using quite a bit, which is the using static system.console. And again, you know that is because what I don't want to do is to have to always write console.readline, console.writeline, or system.console.readline, system.console.writeline. So I'm just trying to make my life a little bit easier, is what I'm telling you. That's what I'm trying to do right now. Okay? All right, so that's a start. Okay? The other one I want to put in here is I want to bring MySQL in. Now, if I did not do this, when I started with some of my code, all right, when I started with some of my code, I'd get an error and it would give me possible fixes. And one of them would be to bring this in. So I want to say using, and you'll notice because this wasn't here before, MySQL. There it is. Dot, there's the data that we just brought in. Dot MySQL client. Now, I'm still not sure why this is as light as it is, my background. I can make it bigger like that, but I can't do much else with it. So what I just added again in there was exactly what you see. Using MySQL.data.MySQL client. All right. Again, the idea here, what I want to be able to do is I want to do the equivalent of coming out and doing this. I want to be able to say, select star from employee and have them all show on the screen. Then select star from department and have them show all on the screen. Then a select star from state and have them all show on screen. That's what we're shooting for here. All right. And again, the conduit, so to speak, is this file, which is going to allow us to work with both C# and MySQL. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to start putting in my actual code here. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to be able to connect in here. I want to be able to connect in here to MySQL. Now, I went online and I watched quite a few videos, many of which were decent, a couple of which were very good, and a couple of which, pardon my French, sucked. All right. But I found one that I thought was pretty good, and I'm going to put it up here. Hoping that's it. Of course, it's not as available. Video is not available anymore. Okay. Well, let's see if I can find it. It was under a thing called Programming Guru. All right, and I might have put these in. I have a hard time knowing when it's a 1 and when it's an L. So this was Programming Guru, and it was called C# MySQL connection in Visual Studio 2022. Let's see if I can find it. All right, Programming Guru. There's a few of them from here. Could have been this one, but I don't think it is. So let's look. This may be it. Okay. So let's see. The reason I'm showing you this is I want to bring it into my program. And again, this was from, I want to give attribution, Programming Guru. And it was called C# MySQL connection in Visual Studio 2022. And I think it was there. UAR, let's see. UAR, let's see. Okay, so there you go with that. All right, now I'm going to do everything inside of main. After I do everything inside of main, we'll see if we can break it up. All right, I'm not going to worry about that right now. But for right now, let's do everything we have inside of main. All right, the first thing that you have to do when you do this is you have to establish how you're going to connect to the database. The way that you typically do that is you create a string variable that can be called anything that you want it to be, but it's a connection string. So I called mine con, C-O-N-N-S-T-R, con str. All right. So that's what we're going to use. All right. Now, you can go out and I will provide these. All right. I will provide these URLs for you, but I don't want to go out to too many URLs right now because then all I'm going to be doing is just spending time going out to URLs. But there is kind of a neat one out there that's called connectionstrings.com. And I use that as a basis to how to write this. Okay, so it looks a little funky. Let me write it, and then we'll go back and break it down. Before I make that connection string, what I have to do is I have to set up the connection string parameters. So this is the stuff that I'm going to use to create the connection string. So server, and that's equal to localhost. If you don't know what that means, already, shame on your instructor. And that's me, shame on me. Localhost is your machine. It's also known as 127.0.0.m. All right, but for here, this is the easiest way to do it. Then I want to use the database. And I'm just going to call that, might as well just call it what it is, database. All right, I'm going to set that equal to Acme underscore widget. Where did I get Acme underscore widget from? Where did I get that from? If I go back again to here and I go to here, there is the Acme widget database, which has our department, employee, and state tables in it. So that's where that's from. All right. Now, you may or may not know this, probably not, because I never mentioned it to you. When you log in to XAMPP, all right, your username, which is also called UID, all right, but we'll just call it username. I'll just call it username. How about that? All right, that is equal to what is called root. All right, and when you log in, we have no password. So the password is equal to nothing. Those are our connection parameters, connection string parameters. It says that we're about to build this right now. So it says our local host is our server. In other words, our machine. We're using a database called Acme Widget. Our username is root, and we have no password. All right. So now let's actually build the connection string. And it looks like, for lack of better words, pardon my French, kind of looks like a pain in the ass to do all this stuff. But it's necessary. And the way that this is set up, this is the way that we do it. I tried to come up with a way of doing this that was as intuitive as possible. Whether I succeeded or failed, you're the ones who are going to know that, not me. All right. So I'm going to come in here now, and I do have some URLs for this stuff. Okay. So let's see. I'm not going to go through any of them, but I do have some URLs. All right. So let me grab those. So why am I showing you these? Because if you want to learn more about what's going on here, you can go through those. You'll notice that one is from Microsoft itself, and it's on the connection string. One is from that connectionstrings.com that I told you about, and it's how to connect to MySQL. And the last one is from the actual MySQL documentation. All right, so you can look at those if you have any desire. And as always, if you don't, no big deal. All right, no big deal whatsoever. All right, okay. This whole thing, when we get done, it's not going to be that big. Maybe 110, 115 lines. That's it. So let's build the connection string. So I'm going to make a string, and I'm going to call it, as I mentioned before, con str for connection string. And that's going to be equal to, and I've got to combine those four things I put up above. So I'm going to say server equal plus that server, in other words, local host, plus, then you need a semicolon, plus, again, I'm going to break this down when we get done in just a second. All right. Database equals, all right, plus our database, again, oops, plus this. Still not done. Then we have to put in our username, which usually goes in as just UID, user ID. And that's going to be equal to our username plus, and again, finally, plus, and I know, don't worry about the mistakes, the errors and stuff in here. Hopefully they're going to flush themselves out, and that shouldn't be there. That's one of the reasons I'm getting all those errors. There we go. There. All right. So there's one more that we have to put here. Okay. And that is our password. And again, typically that goes in as PWD. All right, PWD equals like that. All right. And then finally, all I have to add to that is just In fact, I don't have to add anything to it. Plus, a password plus, oops, plus a semicolon and then our semicolon. Whoopsie, come on, Jeffrey. All right, that's everything. Now, I want to take a couple minutes and explain what that's building. All right, so this is what our connection string will look like when we get all done, and it'll be on one line. It'll look like this. Server equal localhost semicolon database, and I spelled database wrong. Database equal Acme underscore widget. UID equals root password or PWD equals nothing. That's what that connection string is that we're building. And you may not, you may think, well, fine. I don't get why you got to go through all this stuff. I didn't make the rules. I'm just playing the game. All right. So we've got server equals and then localhost, which is what we put in up here, and then database equal, and it'll be Acme widget, which is what it got from here. And then we've got UID equal username, which is what we got from here. And finally, our password equal nothing, which is what we got from here. So this is what it's building. All right. This is what's called a connection string. It's letting the system know that what we want to connect to is localhost. We want our database to be Acme underscore widget. Our username is root, and we have no password. All right. Now, that built the connection string. Now what we want to do is create the actual connection. And that's what we're going to do next. We're going to come in now and create this actual connection. Now I'm going to put in MySQL, and notice there's a bunch of stuff here. And one of them is MySQL connection. All right, and look at how the IntelliSense filled all that in for me. That's exactly what I want right here. So the actual physical connection, connecting all this stuff to the database, all right, is going to be called con. And we are connecting, and we're connecting the connection string that we just set right there. Okay, that's okay. Now what we have to do is we have to open that connection, and it's pretty easy. All right, and all we have to do right there is just say con.open. And as you might guess, when we get all done, it's a really good idea at the end to do a con.close. All right. So this is what we've done in here. We could have done this as another routine, etc. I didn't. All right. In fact, I wrote everything that I'm going to go over with you right now, everything that I did. All right. I did as a single routine under main, but I'm going to see if I can break it up. All right. So I may get errors on this. And if I do, we'll see if we can fix them. So let's say, first thing that we want to do in here is we want to show all employee information. All right, so I'm going to call here show employee information. All right, when we get done with that, we're going to want to show all department information. So I will call show department information. Finally, when we get done with that, we'll want to call show all state information, and we'll call show state information. Now, as you already should know, I'm getting errors in here because I haven't written any of these three yet. All right, we're going to write them one at a time. So let me comment out this one and comment out this one. And in just a moment here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and write this one. Now, when I'm all done showing all that information, there's not going to be much more for me to do. So I am going to do a con.close. But for now, at least, I'm going to comment that out because I want to close my connection. I'm opening it. I'm telling it to show the employee information. I'm going to tell it to show the department information. I'm going to tell it to show the state information. Then I'm going to tell it to close. All right. So let's start writing this. In fact, I can write all three of these right now. Let me just grab this. And let's see. Outside of main, so right here. So that'll be show all employee information, which we're going to write in just a second, but it's going to be private void show all employee information. And as soon as we put in our curlies, now that error, I was going to say it should be gone, but I'm not sure why it's not. Oh, it has to be static instead of private. There. Now all that error is gone. Now let me copy this down a couple times. All right, and this will be show department information. And this will be state. Now I should be able to come in and uncomment both of these. All right. Right now, the program isn't doing a flaming thing other than establishing a database connection and opening it. That's all it's doing. All right. So let's come in and do this. Okay. All right. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a simple query. So I'm going to call it query. And I'm going to set this equal to select star from employee. That's what I call the table. So as you can see, when I jump back here again, we've got department, employee, and state. They're all singular. Should I have made them plural? Maybe, but it works fine the way it is. All right, select star from employee. So that's the first thing that we want to do here. All right, then I have to set up a MySQL command object. All right, and again, just so you know, all right, going back to here, I have set up for you a bunch of URLs. You know, you're either going to want to read this stuff and take a look at it and understand it for next semester, or you don't give a darn right now, maybe. And if you don't, that's okay. Copy that and bring that in. There we go. All right, so I'm going to set up this MySQL command object right now. And I'm going to write here. Remember, I just want to write to the screen right now. And it's going to say, hit any key to see the contents of the employee table. That's it. Hit any key to see the contents of the employee table. All right. And I'm going to put it in as a write. I'm going to put a space there so I can do a read line. So now I actually could run the program. We can run it and see if it works. Not going to do much of anything, but let's run it anyway. Hit any key to see the contents of the employee table. Hit enter, the program ends. Okay, the good news is right now it's working exactly the way we want it to work. All right. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now I'm going to clear the screen. In fact, I don't even have to because it's already clear. All right, so I'm going to do a write line that says showing the contents of table employee. Okay. All right. So now what I want to do is I basically want to go through and I want to read, say this again. I want to go through and I want to read all of the employee information and then write it out. All right. So I want to read it and then write it out. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a MySQL data reader object. And again, I've got a URL for that as well. All right. So how do we do that? Well, I come in and I can call it whatever I want, but it's of type MySQL. Notice when I type in data, there's a data reader. So I can call it whatever I want. All right. Normally you would do this. I would just call it reader like this. All right. But I'm going to call it reader one. I'm going to have 3 of these. So reader one, and it's going to be equal to don't worry if I get an error, we'll fix it. Excuse me. All right. I think I skipped a line. Yes, I did. Did I set up my command object? All right, so we came here, show the query that will run. All right, when the program executes this method. Okay, that's that. All right. Then we set up a command object, and I told you I was going to set it up, but I never did. So let's set it up right here. So it is of MySQL command. And again, we can call it whatever we want. I called it CMD1 because we're going to have 3 of these. And it's going to be equal to, all right. Now, I want it to run our query. Let's call that query 1. So I want it to run query 1, and I want it to use our connection. Now, it's saying it can't find the connection, and it's saying that because we actually set that connection up. All this stuff we set up above. So we set it up in main. All right. So I think that's why it doesn't understand it. So let's see if we call this, if we call show employee information and we pass con to it. All right. Now it's going to give me an error until I go and fix this. Like that. There we go. So taking this from the top, we came in here and we set up our connection string, and we're setting it up as one big string variable. That's what we're doing here. Running this gives us this. So we now have a connection string. All right, next, we're creating the actual connection to MySQL right there. We're calling it con, and we're having it use that connection string. Then we open the connection, and then we're going to tell it to first show our employee information, then show our department information, then show us our state information. All right. The only one that we're partially finished with is show employee information. It needed that connection, so we passed it in. All right. So this is the query as it says that we plan on having it run when the program starts. All right. But this is a MySQL command. And actually, it is a MySQL data manipulation language, DML command. Select star from employees. So we create a command object called CMD1 that uses this query along with the connection that we passed in. All right. And then we say hit any key to see the contents and do a read line, and then showing the contents. And actually, we don't even need this. We'll just have it say right away, showing the contents of table employee. All right. So this is actually pretty simple. We're telling it to read everything that's in there based off of that command that we just set up right here that's running this. All right. So how do we do that? Well, there might be a bunch of records in there. So while reader1.read. So this is saying loop through and read all of the employee table records. That's what we're doing right there. All right. Then write out the contents of these to the screen. That's all we're doing in here. So this is reading it. And inside of right here, we're going to write it. And we're going to put in pretty close to a dozen different write statements. And that's all we're going to put in here. Then when we come back up to here, we're going to tell it that we want it to close the connection. And then we're going to immediately open it again. Now, that might look a little funky. Why are we closing it? Right now, that connection is associated with select star from employee, where we're closing it so we can reopen it so we can do a select star from department in just a couple minutes. All right, so let's come in here and I'm going to try to save a little time. So I've already done it. So I'm going to grab these and we're going to go over every line that's in here. So don't worry about it. All right, so I'm going to put them in here. So what are we doing in here? Well, notice there's a bunch of write lines and writes. Okay, so I'm going to first print out the employee ID, then the first name, then the last name, then the address, then the city, then the state code, then the zip, then the phone number, then the department code, and then the salary. Now, looks pretty ugly right now. All right, like I said, it looks pretty ugly right now. This on one line is going to say like employee ID 1. All right, then these are one line. It's a write followed by a write line. So that's going to say employee name and have the first name and then a space and then the last name. This on a single line is going to put out the address. Then this is really one line. It's going to have a heading of city, state, zip, and it'll put out the city and a space the state code and the space and the zip. All right. And then another write line that's going to print out the phone number, another write line that's going to print out the department code, and another write line that's going to print out the salary. All right. Now I'm going to get rid of this right away, but so we can see whether or not this works, I'm going to put a read line in here because otherwise it's going to fly right off the screen. Let's see if what we've done so far works. So in other words, if this works, what this is going to do in here is it's going to read everything from that table and print it out. So in other words, if this works, we should have something that looks similar to this right here, forgetting about that stuff, but to this. So let's see if indeed it worked or if I screwed something up. So file, save all, and let's run it. All right, now it worked. Showing the contents of table employee. Employee ID 1, name Jeff Scott, address 755 North Parr Road, city, state, zip, Wentzville, Missouri 63385, employee phones 314-286-3675, employee department code 6, employee salary 75,000. Then it goes through the other 10 employees that are in here as well. So it worked. All right. Now I'm going to comment out that read line because we won't need it anymore. But all right, in fact, I'm going to leave that in there. I think that's a good idea. When I come back up here and I close the connection and reopen it, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clear the screen, which is to clear it here. All right. Now we can write our show department information. These two are much easier. Again, I'm going to pass the connection here. It'll give me an error down below, and I'm going to pass the connection here, and that'll give me an error. Let's just fix those. And we'll fix those by putting that in here and by putting that in here. Okay? All right, now we're going to do pretty much the same thing in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my show all employee information, and I'm going to copy virtually the whole thing. Not quite. Well, let's copy the whole thing. That's fine. Everything. Let's copy it in there and let's put it in here, and then we'll make a bunch of changes to it. All right. So this is going to show all the department. So this is the query that we'll execute when we do the show department information. So now we want to select star from department. So in other words, what we're shooting for when we run this in just a moment, what we're shooting for in here is not select star from employee, but select star from department. Right there. And when we run it, ideally what we're going to get is this information right in here. 7 lines of code, 1 shipping, 2 receiving, 3 accounting, 4 programming, 5 payroll, 6 web design, and 7 human resources. All right, so it'll be select star from department. I'm going to call this command 2, and I'm going to call this query 2. I could leave the same names. It wouldn't hurt anything because it's different routines. But now it should say showing the contents of table department. All right. This will be reader 2, which will run command 2, and which will read through them, and it will read through all of the department table records. And that's 2. All right. And this is just going to be 2 write lines. Pretty simple. Now I'm getting errors. Don't worry about it. We're going to fix it right now. All right. What does this have in it? A department code and a department name. Okay. So we're going to put in here department code, and we're going to put in here department name. All right. And then we have to add to this just like we are to the other one, but it's going to be reader 2. And what are the names of these fields? They are department code and department name. All right. Other than that, we're doing the same stuff we did before. And when we come back again, we're going to do these 3 things. We're going to clear. All right. We're going to close our connection, and then we're going to open it again. All right. When we get all done now, we will uncomment this because we don't have to clear anymore because that'll print out our last one. All right. This is our close, and we're not going to open it again. So let's see now. It'll first show our 11 records. And in fact, where I've got the read line here, I really should make it easier. I'll just say here, write, hit any key to show the department records. All right, and then do my read line. All right, that's going to force it back up to here. All right, which should clear, then close the connection, then open it again. All right, now could I have screwed something up? Of course I could have. Let's double check here. Department, 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 department. All right, query 2, CMD2, query 2, con, department, to department. Looks like everything should work. Yeah. So let's, because I left it running. So let's do a save all. Let's run it. And again, these are the first 11 records. These are all my employee records. Now hit any key to show the department records. And there are our departments. I would really like a blank line here after each department list. So let's put that in. Real simple, just at the end of this. All right, I'm going to add to that plus a \n. So let's save it and run it again. Again, there are our 11 employees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Hit any key to show the department. There is our 7 departments. All right. Now I'm going to add that line here again that says hit any key to show the states. So I guess I left that off from the last one. So let me grab that. There we go. I just didn't have a right before it. So hit any key to show the state stuff. So that's what's left. And it's almost, again, the same as the department. So I'm going to grab everything that we just did. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard and paste it in here. All right. So again, this is show state information. So this must be state. This is state. All right. This will be command 3 and query 3 and 3. And this will show the contents of table state. All right. This will be reader 3 for command 3. This will loop through all of the state table records. This will again be a 3. This is now state code and state name, I believe. All right, this again will be a 3. So will this. And this should be state. And so should this. All right. Now we can say hit any key. I'm just going to say to end the program. Okay. Now, first, let's go back to here. Let's show what should be showing here. So this is state. So when I run it, it should show me all 50 of my states, the state code followed by the state name. All right, could I have screwed something up? Of course I could have, but let's look and see what it looks like right now. So we run it. There's our 11 employees. So showing the contents of table employee. All right, hit enter. Showing the contents of table department. Hit enter again. Showing the contents of table state. Hit any key to end the program, and it ends. Right? So now I can close the connection here. Now I want to just literally take about 5 minutes and run through everything. All right. I'm not saying to you, hey, does this totally make sense? Because it may make very little sense. All right. But there's a lot going on in here. And I want you to hopefully have at least some understanding of what it is that is going on in here. All right. So the whole thing is a little longer than I guess I thought it was because I put all the comments in for each one, but 157 lines. All right. So this is the video that I watched. It's about 13 minutes long to give me some inspiration or whatever you want to call it for doing this. All right. I went in using tools and then NuGet package manager and then manage NuGet packages in solution in here. Now you'll notice if I go to installed, I don't know why it's showing all those, but we've got MySQL data. That might bring in a bunch of other stuff. I don't know. But we went over to browse. I typed in here MySQL and we found MySQL data. Then I chose it. I came over here and I clicked on the checkbox for the project and I told it to install it. When it came up, I said, okay, and then I accept. Then I can close this. All right, that allowed us to add this, which allowed us to actually make the connection between our database, which is a MySQL database that we wrote using a package that's actually meant for the PHP programming language. All right, and use that or be able to use that. All right, to sit and read the information from the three tables. All right, we added our using static system.console just because we wanted to be able to write line, read line instead of console dot. All right, just a shortcut. I don't even think we need the using system, but I'll leave it in there anyway. This was the name of our project, so that became the name of our namespace. Notice, see that? When we've been creating classes, it's always come up as an internal class. All right. All right. So we have our main. I tried to set it up so it was as much as possible just a driver. All right. We could have made these global. All of this could have been made global. And then the only thing main would have done would have been to call the different routines. All right, clear, open, etc. But I decided to put it all into main. There's so many different ways that this stuff can be done. It really, in the end, isn't that important. All right. But the first thing that we did in here was we set up our connection string parameters. This is this. This is this. This is this. And this is this. Again, our server is localhost, our own machine. The database we're using is called Acme Widget. We're logged in as root. We have no password. So we set up, those are our 4 parameters. And then creating our connection string like this caused the connection string to be written that basically looked like that. All right. Now that's our connection string, but we haven't made a physical connection yet to MySQL. So that's what we're doing here. We are making an actual connection using that connection string. We are making a MySQL connection that we are calling con. All right. Then we open up that connection so that we're able to do stuff with it. All right. And then previously I'd written everything inside of main, but I broke it up into 3 different routines. So I immediately call show employee information. It needs that connection information, so I pass it to that routine right there. When we get done with that, we clear the screen, we close that connection, and we reopen it so that we can call show department information. Again, passing our MySQL connection, and that was this one. All right. Then when we return from there, we again clear the screen, we again close the connection, we again open the connection, and we call our routine to display all of the state information, which was here. When we get done with that, the program is finished. So we just close our connection. That's everything. All right. All 3 of these routines are basically doing the same thing. They're just doing it on, in the first one, the employee table, on in the second one, the department table, and on in the third one, the state table. All right. So we show the query that we want to run against the database. That's called query 1, and it's just a string. All right. Then to be able to make it connect and talk to, all right, MySQL, we set up a MySQL command object. And I just called it CMD1. And I'm telling it the command we want to run is query 1. All right. And the database connection we're using for that is con that we passed in. Then we just wrote down showing the results of that table. All right. Then we create a MySQL data reader. And again, as I've already mentioned to you, what I have done here is I have added, all right, to each one of these, I have come in here and I have added URLs, and many of them are to MySQL's website. I mean, if you're going to see what a MySQL command object does, you might as well go out to the MySQL documentation. If you want to see what a MySQL data reader it does, you might as well go out to the MySQL documentation. All right. So we create this reader, and then notice this. We call execute reader. That's going to actually run this command. And it's going to take the results and put them into reader 1. Then we loop through this reader 1 and we read everything that's in there. And this will show each employee. And when we get done, we'll add a blank line, then our next employee, etc. When it gets done with all the employees, it'll fall out. We'll tell it hit any key to show the department records. We'll put a read line in, you hit enter, and now you will come up and you will be up here. So we'll clear the screen, close the connection, reopen the connection, and go through the whole 9 yards again, but do it with the department information. So that's what we're doing right here. All right. So when we call show department information, we are again passing in our database connection. There it is. And now we want to run a different query. Now we want to select everything from department. We again set up a command object. It'll run that query using our connection string. We again set up a data reader. And now we're telling it to execute that second query right there. Put the results in reader 2. All right, there it is. Then we're looping through reader 2, and it's much simpler because all we have to put to print out there is just 2 fields as opposed to about 10 that we had in the other one. So we've got a department code and a department name. And we say hit any key to show. That should be state records. All right, and this one should have been for department, and department is for state. Good. Then we do really the same thing here. All right, but now it's the state information that we're showing. So we create another query, select star from state rather. We create another command object, which will run that query against our connection, using our connection. Then we show the contents of the state table. All right, so again, when we get done and we execute that command, all right, reader 3 will hold all of our state information. So we loop through it again. We print out the state code and the state name. When we get done with each one, we add a blank line. Finally, we say hit any key to end the program. And what that is going to do is it's going to send us back up to right here, which is just our con.close. And the program will indeed end because there's nothing else to execute in there. Okay, and that's everything. All right, now what I'm going to attempt to do is to build a GUI-ized version of this. All right, the interface, you've been warned, going to be kind of ugly. All right, and it's also going to introduce to you a new control. All right, that's called a data grid view. We will talk about this control next week in class. Okay, I'm going to take about 5 minutes right now and just take a short break from 9:15 till 9:20. All right, then at 9:20, I'm going to come in and start to build the next project here. So let me do a file, save all. Let me run it one last time to make sure everything's looking good. There are our employees. Do it again to show departments. There are our departments. Do it again to show states. There are our states. Do it again to end the program. Everything's looking good. So file, save all, and now I'm going to close this. All right. And right before we finish here, take our break, I'm going to add a new project. It will be a Windows Forms app. And since I call the other one MySQL DB console project, this one will be MySQL DB GUI project. All right, and I'm going to click create. There's my interface. I will see you in 5 minutes. All right, it is 9:20, so I'm going to start back up. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to widen this out, so it's going to take up basically the whole screen. All right, pretty much. Now, as we oftentimes do, this is going to be a form, and the only one that I'm doing so far is going to be to hold all the employee information. So I'm going to change the name of the form to FRM employee. Okay, yes, I want to change it all over. All right. We're going to have, let's go in here and change the text, which just says form 1. And we're going to say MySQL GUI program using Acme widget database, and then employee form. Kind of big, but you can see all of it there. Okay, and I'm going to change the color here, the background color of the form. What haven't I used in a while? Let's use that, kind of pinkish. All right. Okay. Now, there are a lot of different ways that this could be built. All right. I'm going to show you the way that I used. All right. And to do that, I'm going to have to move this over. Okay. Which means I'm going to have to move. There we go. And I started by putting in a couple of group boxes. All right. And again, if what I'm doing doesn't make a lot of sense right now, please bear with me for a couple minutes, okay? All right, this is going to be pretty big, about like, I don't know, maybe like that. And I'm immediately going to change the background color to make it kind of the inverse of this. So it's going to be nice and dark. All right. Then I'm going to make another one. Now this one's going to be smaller because it's going to fit over here. So let me make it smaller. About like that, maybe. Bring it up there. And there's our second one. All right, I can almost have these things touch. There. All right, this is going to hold my employee information in a couple minutes. This is going to hold my buttons that I want to have run. Now I'm going to put another control down here, and this is the first time that we're using this data grid view. All right, so I'm going to grab it right there, drag it here. Okay, and there's a lot of stuff in here. I'm not going to go over any of that right now. We'll talk about that next week. All right, but I'm going to click on this and I'm going to drag it way over. So this is what we want to have happen with this program, just so you know. This is what we want to have happen. This is going to show our information for each employee. This will give us 5 buttons, a button to add a new employee, a button to update an existing employee, a button to delete an existing employee, a button to clear whatever is in here, and a button to exit. This will be our data grid view. And what I should have done, just so you can see it, is I want to go back out here and let's go out to learn.microsoft.com. And in here, I'm going to type in C# data grid view control. All right. And there it is. Now there's a bunch of links for it. Okay. It says you can use this to show read-only views of a small amount of data. In here, it's going to show the modes. I'm going to go to the class right here. All right. Why? Because this has got all the stuff that the data grid view has available to it. All right. So I'm going to come back to that in just a little bit. But this is our interface. Okay. And right now, doesn't look like much, but we've only got 3 pieces of information in here. 4 if you include the form. Let's go into here And I'm going to call this one GB for group box, GB, and I'm going to call it employee info right there. And for the title on it, I'm going to literally put in here employee information. So that's what this says now. I know it's small, but that's okay. This is going to hold my buttons and my search. So I'm going to call this GB for group box, and I'll call it search and buttons, kind of a dumb name, but I don't even want to put a title in there. So I'm going to get rid of that title. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do then, well, let's also rename our data grid view. All right. And so I'm going to call this DGV and the name of our database, which is Acme widget. All right. So there's that. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build what's going to go into here. All right. After I build what's going to go into there, I'm going to build what's going to go into here. There's nothing I have to build in here. This will be automatically populated for us by the program. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go, and when I do all these, I'm just going to click on the control. So I'm going to click on label, and I'm going to click right here, and that put in a label. Then I'm going to click on text box and click there, and there's my text box. And we're going to fill all of them in just a minute. Then I'm going to click on the button and click over here. All right. And now let's start to shape this, so to speak. All right. So this is going to be a label. All right. Let's immediately change the color so it matches the opposite kind of. So it's the lighter color again, right there. And I'm going to set the auto size to false. Okay. Move that up a little bit. Looks like it'll work. All right. And this is going to allow us to do what's a last name search. So we'll be able to search for anybody, if we can get it to work, by their last name. So I'm going to call this LBL, just search. All right. And this will say last name search. Now it's a little small and I don't like where it's positioned. So we do this. I'm going to just do this kind of piecemeally because I might make some stuff different sizes. Let's try 20 and bold and Arial. That looks better. Probably even make it a little bigger, but that's okay. And as far as where it's going to be located, let's go to the text align and put it right in the middle there. Okay, so that's the first one. Now let's go over to here, and this is going to be the text box where we're going to enter a last name. So this will be TXT search. All right, let's make this one bigger. So let's go over to the font. Let's do what we have been doing, and that is make it about 24, bold and Arial. And okay, and there's that. Okay, so we've got that. And we've got LBL search, TXT search, good. Now we're going to put in our 5 buttons. All right, I'm going to make this stretch all the way and make it so it's not, looks a little better. That doesn't look too bad. So there's 1 button, there's 2 buttons. There's 3 buttons. There is 4 buttons. And there is 5 buttons. Let's move these down a little bit. There we go. All right, let's take the buttons and do what we always do again. And we're going to make the text on the buttons be 24, bold, and Arial. All right. Now it's looking okay. Doesn't look great, but it looks okay. So the first button is going to allow us to add a new record. So I'm just going to keep it simple. We'll call it BTN add. We could call it add new record. We could put add new record here, but I'm just going to leave it as add like that. The second one will be to update an existing record. So we're going to call this BTN update. And in here, I am going to put update. The third one will allow us to delete an existing record. So it will be BTN delete. And it will have the text in it, delete. All right, the next one will be our clear button. Oops, I don't know what I did there. Well, I don't know what those are set to by default. So I want the accessible role. Should be just default. Yep. Okay, and this one will be BTN clear and clear. You know, I didn't do this, but let's do it anyway. So let's put the underscore here. So that'll have the underscore by the L. Let's put the underscore here before the D and delete. Let's put it before the U and update. In the A and add. And finally, our last button here will be our exit by the X. And we will call it BTN exit. All right, I should have everything named now. Let's double check. And it looks like everything is named. That's good. All right. Now, let's just do a couple of the things that we can't do everything because this interface isn't built yet. But I am going to come in and click here, and I'm going to set my accept button and set it to whatever I want. But since the first one is add, I'm just going to set the accept to add, and I'll set the cancel to clear. And I'm going to set my start position to center screen. All right, now I'm far from being done, as you can guess, but let's do a file, save all here. Let's go to our code window and let's run this to just see if it looks all right. Well, we got to change our startup project. Someday I'll remember to do that when I should. So set it startup project. Close that and run. There it is. Yeah, it doesn't look great, but it's acceptable, I think. All right. All right, so now let's start filling in this stuff. And we actually have 10 pieces of information, but I'm going to break it up a little bit differently than you've seen it before. All right, and if you don't understand what I mean, again, just give me a second and you will. So let me come in here and let me grab a label, bring it in here. All right, as always, as I've been doing, I'm going to go and change the background color so it matches the opposite. And I'm going to set my auto size to false and bring this over, I don't know, pretty close to halfway, something like that. All right. And there's got to be 10 of these, so I got to watch how I space this. All right, so there is number 2, number 3, number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like I've set it up now for 9. So let me move this one down here. That doesn't look too bad. I try to do a little bit of spatial work so it at least somewhat looks like it, it lines up the way that it should. It's not bad. This can go up a little bit. No, down a little bit. I'm not good at this, in case you couldn't tell. That down a little. That's not too bad. All right, those are going to be our labels in just a minute. And now we're going to need 10 text boxes. All right, let's immediately go in and do a couple things here. Let's change. This is going to change the size, which I hope won't screw it up too much. I want to make sure it's big enough where you can read everything. So I'm going to try 16 here. That is not bad. All right. And I'm going to say that I want everything centered. So that's good. Now in here, I'll try to make this 16 as well, and let's see what that looks like. That's not bad. And I'm going to center that as well. All right, now I'm going to copy this. All right, so my interface looks at least like it's complete. Let's lock it into place. All right, so now it should be locked into place. All right, so again, if I come in here, let's go into the code view. And there's no code in there yet, but let's run it and see what it looks like. All right, hopefully that's big enough where you can all read that. All right, I'm going to name all this stuff right now. Okay, this is done. I'm going to name this, name these, and set my tab order. Then we'll start really going to town and writing some code in here. All right, so this one, first one is going to be the employee ID. Again, I'm going to try to keep these as simple as I possibly can. So I'm going to call this label LBL ID, and it's going to say employee ID. All right, since that's LBL ID, this will be TXT ID. And it'll have nothing in it. The next one will be LBL first name. And it'll have employee first name. All right. And then this will be TXT first name. All right. This will be LBL last name. It will say employee last name. This will be TXT last name. This will be LBL address. It will say employee address. All right. This will be then TXT address. All right. I actually didn't do this the way I wanted to. I was going to put the city, state, and zip all together, but let's leave them apart. Maybe that'll even work better. All right. So this will be the employee city. So we will call it LBL city. And this will make that TXT city. All right, this will be the state. So it'll be LBL state. And employee state. This will be TXT state. Since it's only 2 letters, I mean, it's going to look kind of weird like that, but that's okay. All right, and we've got the zip code. So this will be LBL zip. It will say employee zip code. Which will make this TXT zip. All right. This will be LBL phone. And it will say employee phone. All right, this will be TXT phone. This is the department code. So it will be LBL department code. And I think I won't put employee here. I think I'll just put in department code here. Let's try that. Because if I put in employee department code, well, let's try it. Employee department code. It's probably too big. Oh, it works. Good. All right. This will be TXT. So that was LBL department code. This will be TXT department code. All right. And finally, this will be LBL salary. And it will say salary or employee salary, I guess. And this will be TXT salary. All right, now, when you look at this, all right, this is in one group box. This is in one group box. This is a control into and of itself. All right, none of the stuff in here. I mean, we literally, if we want to add a new record, we've got to fill in all of these. I want to say that again. If we want to fill in a new record, we've got to fill in all of these. All right. So when I go in to set the tab order, this is part of the group box, so it looks a little funky. So view tab order. Click over here and do it again. View tab order. So I'm in here. So this will be 0, 1, 0, 0.1, 0.2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I really don't even need to do these, but I will anyway. All All right, so all those are now set. All right, let's come in here and do the same thing. So we will set this first, then our buttons, then this. I'm not even going to set this. I'll leave it at 2. That's fine. So I'm going to do another view tab order. Now my tab order should be set. I can verify that, of course. So let me go back to my code window here and let me run the program. There it is, and it's centered. All right, this is not centered yet. That's why the cursor is there. All right, it all looks great to me, except, again, I just want to come back and center this, just because I'm that way, I guess. So text align center. All right, so everything, the interface now is complete. All right, and I believe, let's double check this, believe everything has been renamed. There's a lot of stuff in here, as you can see. To my knowledge, there's no label ones in here or text box ones in here, etc. It looks like, or button 1, looks like they've all been renamed. Good. Move that way over. All right. So we should be able to come in now and start putting in some code. This will be when we attempt to add a record. You know all this stuff already. This will be when we attempt to update a record, attempt to delete a record, clear, and our good old exit. All right. Okay. Let's start with our exit. Let's just get the ones that we typically do first. Let's get them the heck out of the way. So again, I'm going to find this from an old program. There that is. Okay. So we've got that done. All right. And when we clear, let's think about what we want to do here. We want to clear all 10 of these, and we want to clear this. All right. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do for now. We may end up adding more to it. We'll see. But for now, like I said, what I want to do here when we do this is I want to clear, basically that's what I'm doing here, right? All right, I want to clear all the employee information. Now, I'm going to write it, and then I'm going to rewrite it. Okay, I'm going to expect right here that anything we try to do, I'm really gonna try to put everything together that we've been using. Maybe not the class stuff so much, but everything else that we've been doing this semester, put it together. I'm gonna go back to the exit right here. Okay. And in our exit, do we have to add anything? Yes, I'm gonna add something. Okay. First of all, down below this routine, I'm gonna make my own show message as I've oftentimes done. So private void show message, and it'll have a string for the message and a string for the title. All right. And then we will do a message box.show here. All right. And it'll have my message. It'll have my title. It'll have my message box buttons. Just an OK button. All right. And it'll have, we're going to change that from information because you only want to call this if there's some kind of an error. All right. So we've got that done. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume anything I try to do in here, just about anything at least, could fail. So I'm going to put this into a try catch block. Now that should never fail. We've done it all semester. It's never failed. All right, but I'm going to put it in one anyway. And I'm just going to catch just a basic exception. It really shouldn't happen. And if for some reason it finds an exception, I'm going to call show message. I'm going to pass in ex.message and just the word error. All right, so I used a try catch inside of my exit program or not. It'll still run the same. So notice if I do a file, save all here, and I run this, still looks the same. An exit program still works the same. No, I don't want to exit. Yes, I want to exit. So nothing new there. All right. But all right, I'm going to go really till about noon if I can. But we're going to sit there and look at a lot of things we haven't really looked at before. We're going to start that right now. Okay. All right. What do I mean? Well, in the past, we've always done this. This will work. All right. So I can say txt id.text equals nothing. Txt dot first name. Try that again. Txt first name. Try that again. Txt first name dot text is equal to nothing. Txt last name dot text is equal to nothing. Txt address dot text is equal to nothing. Txt city dot text is equal to nothing. Txt state dot text is equal to nothing. Txt zip dot text is equal to nothing. Txt phone dot text is equal to nothing. Txt, what was it, state dot text is equal to nothing. And txt salary dot text is equal to nothing. And we've even got one, our txt search dot text, and that's equal to nothing. That's in the other group box. All right. Now, this is, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines of code. All right. I'm going to replace all of that with a loop. We've never done this before. We're going to do it now. First of all, let's see if this works the way it is. All right. So file, save all. And I'm just going to put garbage in each one of these. So that should clear out everything in all 10 of these and this one. So clear. Oh, I missed one. I missed the department code. That's always why it's a good thing to check. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Why is it? Oh, why do I have 10 of them then? Which one didn't clear? It was the department code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. No, I want to look at this. ID, first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, phone. That should be the first 8. ID, first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, phone. All right, we got left state. Oh, I put state in there twice. Okay, so txt department code dot text. All right, it screws these up, but that's okay. All right, now let's try it one more time and make sure it works. That's why you test. Yeah, I've got to stop for a second. Oops. Well, I got a call and I hung up instead of answering it. Sorry. Sorry about that. All right. So let's try this and make sure it works. If they call back, I'm going to hit the right button and actually answer it. All right. Now, do all 10 of these and this one clear when I hit the clear button? The answer is yes. So that's working. So right now my exit is working and my clear is working. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with the way I wrote this, but I'm going to grab this and comment it out. Okay? Why? Because there's a better way of writing it. And it's time we start learning better ways of doing things. So I'm going to come in here and again, it's possible this could fail. It shouldn't ever, but I'm going to put it into a try catch block again, just like we looked at before. Okay, so I'm going to have that try in there and another catch that's going to say exception EX. And just like we did before, we'll do our show message and we will pass in EX.message and again, just error. All right, I'm keeping that simple. Okay, now I want to put this in here. This goes into my try block. Now I want to replace all of this, all of that. I want to replace, and I want to replace all of that. All right, I should mention, if I don't know who just called me, but if you called me and you're watching this presentation, please call back. All right. All right. So I want to replace this with a loop. So this is what I'm going to do. For each what? For each control, all right, we can call it whatever we want, but C in the name of our group box, which was GB employee info dot controls. Let me move this over so you can see what I'm doing. I am writing a for each loop right here. And I'm saying for each control that is inside of here. So for each control that's in there. Now, I'm going to have to specify and check to see if the control is a text box. Because if I don't, it's going to clear out everything, including our labels, which we don't want to have happen. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do this. I'm going to say if C, that's the control, is text box. Well, all we want to do is clear it, but we can't say, just say text box dot clear. Won't work. All right. It doesn't understand what we're trying to do. So we'll fix it right now. And what we have to do is we have to not do this. We really want to say C dot clear. It doesn't like that either. But we have to cast C. We have to cast it into a text box. So text box, oops, text box C dot clear. What doesn't like here? It's another one. There we go. So I'm replacing all of this code with a loop. Now we could have put this in a try catch as well. All right, but let's see if it still works. If it still works, then this should handle all 10 of the text boxes that we have. This should handle all 10 of the text boxes that we have in here. All right, let's try it. Bingo. And it worked. That is considered a more professional way of clearing the text boxes. So this should clear each text box in the employee info group box. This will clear the text box in the GRP. I think we called it search and buttons or something like that. Search and buttons. Group box. And this was really group GRP employee. I think it was employee information or employee info, I think we called it. Okay. Again, I'm trying to be really meticulous as far as putting in comments and letting you know what's going on all the time. All right. We haven't done much so far. Let's face it. We haven't done much. We've got two buttons here that work. These buttons, we're going to put off these and this. We're going to put off pretty much at least till the end. All right. Because we want to make sure we've got all of our other stuff up, working, and whatever first. Right. Now, we're going to do some stuff in here that is similar to what we did before. We are going to do some stuff in here which is different than what we did before. All right. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and I think at least we're going to still need this. So I'm going to go to, again, Tools, NuGet Package Manager, Manage NuGet Packages for a Solution. All right. Under the Browse, I'm going to put in again MySQL. I'm going to again bring in the MySQL.data. Click on Project here, try to. Click on, ooh, I wonder if it's available already. It might be. I don't think I have to reinstall it, so let's look. It's showing it as being installed. Forget all that. I didn't think I had to do it again, but I wasn't sure. So, okay. But we're going to have to set up some of the stuff we did before, and some of the stuff will be different. All right. And it's different because we're bringing the GUI aspect in here with this. Now, this is the idea. I want you to understand this, that when I go in here for the last name search and I put in there Scott, in here, I want everybody with a last name of Scott to appear. All right. If I click add, I want this to be empty. And not when I click add, I'm sorry. When I get ready to add, I want this to be empty. I want to fill in everything. When I click add, now I didn't do this on the copy that I made, the one I've been working through, but I'm also going to come in and check to make sure nothing's empty. I'm going to make sure that, let's see, if we go back and look at our database, so if I go back in here and I look at the employee table, all right, and I go back and I look at the structure, the nice thing that we have in here, the nice thing is, notice we've got an int. I'm going to see, I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to see if we can automatically get that to fill in eventually. But string, 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 int, and a number. All right. So who cares? I do. All right. I'm gonna blow this program up. And what I mean is I'm going to go out and add the validator class. And I want to make sure the is present is in all of these. I want to make sure the is int is in that one and that one. And I want to make sure the is decimal is within that one. And we might even make some kind of a thing in there for department code has to be between 1 and 7. Salary has to be within some range. All right. I'm trying to bring together all the stuff we've been doing in here all semester. All right, let me look at something quickly here. Bring this up and this up. Let's see. I thought it would show me who tried calling me before. Whoever it was, I apologize. Hopefully it was a wrong number and you didn't mean to call me. All right, now, did I have something I used for this? All right, the answer is yes. And I'll have to find that. I don't know where I put it, but yeah, there was another presentation that I used for this. All right, I am going to grab this. Okay, and I'm going to put that up here at the top of my code. Yeah, I don't think, again, I'm probably not going to need most of these. All right. And I'm going to put in here Microsoft Data Grid View documentation page. There's that. All right. And I will try to find the one that I used for this and put that in there as well. All right. So let's start thinking here. Okay. Well, let's see. First of all, I really should go if I'm putting stuff in. I shouldn't put them below this. You see what this is? Isn't that the name of the form? Doesn't that look like a constructor? It's because it is a constructor. All right, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to create a couple global constants. All right. And right now you've already seen this, but I'm showing it again to you. And that is when we come in here, did I close it? Is when I come in here under Acme widget and I look at our departments. We have 7 of them. So I'm going to have a minimum department number and a max department number. Now, this may have to change over time. I don't care. So I'm going to say const int min dept number, and that's going to be equal to 1. Const int max dept number, and that's going to be equal to 7. All right. I'm also going to set a const decimal or min salary, and I'm going to set that equal to 0.00m, and a const decimal max salary. Nice how that lined up. Set that equal to 1.23456.00m. So I'm saying that everybody will have to be between departments 1 and 7, and will have to make between nothing if they were maybe a volunteer and $1 million. Again, these are all arbitrary. I didn't do this in the copy that I'm working out of. All right. But I'm just doing them here. All right. So some of this stuff that I'm creating right now is going to be very similar to what we did in the last program. Some of it will be new. All right. And I guess I might have to go back and add links, and I'll go back and try to do that this afternoon. All right. Like I said, I'm only going to go till about 10 today, or I'm sorry, 10. It's after 10. I'm going to go till about noon today. Whatever we get done, great. Whatever we don't get done, I'm going to finish up on Monday. All right. So I'm going to set up the MySQL and data variables. What are data variables? You're going to look and you just see them right now. So MySQL. Now notice I'm going to get an error here. Connection SQL con equals new MySQL connection. I'm getting an error, and guess what? Every one of you should by now know why. If I go over to here and I click All right, it says, do you want to install that package? Well, I thought I already did. All right, I thought I already did install it. So let's look over here. It says here, use local version. Find and install with, let's see if we can use the local version. I don't know. I thought that it had it. I thought it would have grabbed it from the other one that we put out there already, and I guess it did. All right, so it's using it, and that's interesting because I think it's using the one that we brought in for here. All right, we'll see if it still works or not. Now notice my error is gone. So it does seem like it's acknowledging that it's there. That's good. All right, let's keep going. MySQL command equals new MySQL command. CMD better. All right. So that's going to be my SQL command object. All right. How about a data reader? Typically, you don't put that to a new reader. You just put that to null. All right. All right. We're getting there. One more, and that'll be a data adapter, which I don't even think I used, but we'll see. Okay. All right. There's all that stuff. Those are my MySQL variables. I don't think I'm missing anything, but we'll see. Okay. All right. Move that over one. Which means that over one. There we go. Now, I'm going to work with a couple of other objects in here that we'll have to talk about on an as needed basis a little later. So first is a data table. All right, then is a data set. And finally, we're going to have another string in here that's just going to be to hold our query. We'll just initialize it to the empty string. We don't even have to do that, but I am anyway. All right. All right, so those are all of our global variables. And technically, not really, because just like before, we're going to set up our connection parameters in here. So these will be our MySQL connection parameters. It'll be exactly the same as we did before. All right. In fact, I'm going to grab it from the old program. It was right here. So there that is. So we've set up our server again to be localhost, our database to be Acme widget, our username to be root, and our password to literally be nothing. Okay. All right. That's a start. Now, what we want to do next is I can run this now. Nothing is going to really happen. So I can do a save all on here. And again, I can go in and enter stuff into here and here and clear works and exit works. We've done this already, but add does nothing, update, delete do nothing. Putting the search in here does nothing. All right, so that's fine. But the reason I'm running this is what I'd like to have happen is when the program begins, I'd like in here, I'd like this to show us our database information. All right, well, you already know that once the program begins, it means I want to put something in my load event. You know that already. So I'm going to come over here and double click, and there's my load event. And I might want to use it in other places. In fact, I will. So I'm going to write a routine that's called upload data. Call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Now I'm getting errors because again, that hasn't been written. So private void upload data. Okay, now I can come back and change this to upload data. There we go. All right. So this is what we want to have happen. This is what we want to have happen. All right. When the program begins. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to come in and set all of that stuff that we set before. Remember this from the last program when we came in and we did this? All right, where we set up our connection string. Right, I'm going to grab that and close that again. And we're going to be doing this in more than one occasion. So I'm going to write a routine that's called set connection string. Yeah, get an error because of course it hasn't been written yet. So private void set connection string. And let's paste in. Again, that's from the old program. All right. So that should, anytime we call that, that should set up this connection string, which again does this. And we've already talked about that. So now I can call set connection string from here. That's a good start. All right. Well, what else do I want to do? Well, then I want to open my connection. All right. So I can come in here and say SQL con dot, well, doesn't look like it's recognizing SQL. So where is that? Well, I set it up here. SQL con. That might be why. All right. So let's come back in here right where we were. All right. So in our upload data here, now I can come in and say SQL con dot open. All right. So that will again open the connection. Okay, nothing new, no surprise there. All right. Now I want to set the command object. Okay. So I'm going to say SQL CMD dot connection equals SQL con and SQL cmd.command text. This is the query we'll want to run. Equal select star from employee. Look familiar? It should. All right. So that's that. Now, we actually want it to go and execute this command. So SQL reader equals SQL CMD dot execute reader. That's telling it to run the command. Okay. Again, this is just the way this stuff works. Okay, so let's see here. No, that's right. So that'll load it. Okay. All right, now there's one more thing that we have to do, and it's where, for lack of better words, you could say the magic is going to take place. And that is, we have to associate that data table that's got that information in it right here. We have to associate that with our data grid view. All right, I'm excited just because of the fact now I get to run it and see if I'm actually going to get something in here when we run the program. So let's do a file save all and let's run it. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to get some kind of an error. And I do. Host is not allowed to connect to this MariaDB server. All right. And I'll tell you the problem. It doesn't like what we were doing up here using that other copy. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to try to fix this right now. If I can't, I'm kind of hosed here. So NuGet package manager, and I don't want the console. Sorry. So I'll try that again. Tools, NuGet package manager, manage solution. All right. I again want to browse. And again, I want to do MySQL. This will be a little different. I'm going to bring in this one again, but now I want to choose this GUI project. All right, I don't think it's installed here. So let's see, let's try this. Let's uninstall this. All right, so it should be gone now. And grab it again, and let's try to install it for everything. I don't know if this is going to work now or not work. I don't know. Click I accept. Now I'm hoping it's now going to be available for both of the programs. All right, I wish I knew more about the MySQL.data thing than I know. So I'm going to close that, come back to here, put my using statement back in. Now, if it still doesn't run, boy, that's not a good thing. Let's do this. Let's do a file, save all. Let's exit the program. And let's bring the program up again. Okay. All right, there it is. But what I want to do first is I want to bring up the other one, the console one that we had previously. That's this, whoops. That is this one. I'm going to reset my start project to this, and I want to run it, see if I broke it or not. Well, there's all those. There's all those. That didn't break. That's good. All right, that's a good start. Now let's see if this one now works or doesn't work. So again, set as startup project. File, save all, and let's run this. Well, I'm going to grab this and see if I can debug it. So you're seeing this real time. All right. It's funny, I didn't have these problems when I did it before. Solve this problem. Right click on your project name and click on add reference. Okay, it must not be getting that reference. That's fine. If that's the only fix I need, then that's great. So let's right click on our project name. In fact, let's see if it's there. It says MySQL data is there. So I don't know if that's going to do diddly. I don't know if I shouldn't need that. Okay, it's not there. I'm looking for a MySQL data. Oh, projects. I don't think that'll fix it, but let's see. No. Son of a gun. Boy, oh boy. Simply add skip grant tables below. Well, I am using. Okay. This solution does not work. I'm going to try this and see if it works. Okay, there should be a my.ini file in here. There it is. I'm going to open this. And it says I should add skip grant tables below the MySQL DLD. All right, so right below that and right up above the port. So I should put in here skip grant tables. I don't know if this will work or not. Save that. I want to save this URL. Well, I won't need to put it in now. Let's try it though. So again, let's stop the run, do a save all. I'm going to go in and build and rebuild the solution. And I'm going to try running it again. No. Well, that didn't do anything. Trying to use an authenticated MySQL. Well, let me show you. Let me do this. All right. And that is, first of all, let me get rid of this line because it didn't do anything. So I am going to get rid of it and close this. All right. I'm going to show you the semi-finished project that I've been working on. So that's over here. And if I have to, I'm just going to use this one. That's okay. Because the first one that I did is virtually the same as this. This is what it looks like now. The only thing that I changed was notice that city, state, and zip are all put together here. And now if I come in and run this, there's my data. So it is in there. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working off of this one. All right. And I'm going to remove all the code that I put in to the add, to the update, to the delete, etc. All right. So let me get into the add here. And I'm going to get rid of all that code so you can watch me put it in. And in the update, I'm going to get rid of all that code. And in the delete, I'm going to get rid of all of that code. Okay. So you can watch me put all that stuff in. So this we'll call attempt to update record, attempt to delete record. Okay, that's good. All right, there's virtually nothing else in here. Clear is the same. Exit is the same. All right, there is a cell click in here that I'll have to go over with you in a little bit. And their search is in here. We'll worry about those when we get to that point. Okay. I don't know what happened, but I don't have the time or the desire to sit here and try to debug that error when I've already got it working someplace else. All right. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody as far as what I just said and what I just did, etc. All right. It is 10:35. I'm again going to take a 5-minute break. All right. And we're going to come back and we're going to take a look at what's in here. Okay. All right, let's continue on. Now, what I'm going to do here is next, I'm going to come in and I'm going to write the add. Okay. In fact, what I'd like to do, let's see. All right, we've already done the upload and I explained that to you. You already know what the set connection string is, so that's not new. All right. So let's attempt to add a record here. Now, I've already got some code in here and I'm going to put in that code, but before I do, all right, before I do go in and put in that code, I'm going to come in and bring in that validator class that we've used before. So I'm going to come into here, I'm on my GUI project, and I'm going to add a class. I could bring in a class library, but I think this is the only class I'm going to use. So validator.cs. All right, there it is. And I'm going to make it public. And I'm actually going to attempt to go in and find it from another program and just bring it in so you don't have to watch me type, waste my time, waste your time, etc. Didn't have it in there. Let's look and see if we can find it. There it is. Again, this is nothing new here. The same validator that was in the book. Just like I said, rather than you watching me type, which I think is a waste of my time and yours. All right. Let's get rid of that one. All right. So in this validator class, I'm going to bring all that stuff in just to very quickly review it. What is that? What is this doing? All right. Well, that's that line end thing. That's no biggie. But check for the presence or absence of a variable. We'll want to make sure that we're going to run that against all 10 of our variables before we try to go in and add something. All right. We've got an is decimal and an is in 32. This is decimal will be used for the salary. This is in 32 will be used for the employee ID and for the department code. There and here we're saying if it's within range. This one may be a little dicey. All right. I'm wondering if I should write two of these. They'd be the same thing, except with one of them, it would be an int, and the other one, it would be a decimal. And I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to try to see if I can work my way around that. But I've now got the validator available to me. All right, so file, save all. All right, and wherever I grabbed that from. This is what I want, the if valid data. This. All right, so I'm gonna have to jack with this a little bit. It's okay. All right, so what are we gonna have to check in here? Well, this is gonna be our validate. All right, so as it says, is valid data. So we're gonna have to validate that all 10 input fields are not empty. That's the first thing. All right, second, we'll have to validate that the employee ID and the employee department code are both integers. So that's two of them. Finally, we'll have to also validate that the employee department code we're not even going to run the validator on that. We're going to validate that the salary is between 0 and 1. No, that was $1 and $1 million. All right. So success, validate the presence. So is present. Let's go in and start by setting up tags, because there aren't tags in there now for all of these. All right, so let's set up a tag for each one of these. I'm going to keep them really simple. ID, first name, just going to run them together. Last name, address, city, state, I spelled that wrong. Zip, phone, depth code, put it as one word, and salary. All right, why did I do that? So we can go back to here and write this. In fact, I'm going to I'm going to keep the is present here. I'm going to remove all the other is presents for now. So it's present. All right, now I have to unfortunately put this in 9 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is going to be very big as far as the code goes. So we've got the ID, first name, last name, sorry, I'm doing this as fast as I can here, address, city, state, zip, all right, let's double check before we do the last couple, because there's only two or three more. Oh, we need phone. Let's do that one next. Make sure I gave them all the right names. So txt ID, txt first name, txt last name, txt address, txt city, txt state, txt, I called it zip code. I'll have to fix that. All right, so txt zip code, txt phone, txt department code, and txt salary. Okay. So the zip is zip code. All right. We've got phone, then this is going to be txt department code. And finally, this is txt salary. Wasn't too bad. All right, that's going to make sure all those are fine. This will validate that the ID text box is numeric. So is decimal txt ID, txt ID. Let's see, we also have to make sure that the department code is numeric. Right? All right, so now I've done all of my checks. And let's see, this should be is int 32. So that's integer for the ID and integer for the department code. So that should be, again, is int 32. Okay. Now I have to do the salary. And that's decimal. All right, those are done. Okay. Now let's see, validate that the loan amount, no. We're going to do it from right here. So validate that the value in the I guess we're going to do this for all of them. Employee ID is greater than 0. So this will be an int 32 dot try parse txt ID. All right, where I've got LA there, that's going to have to change. I'll make that a global variable. And we're just going to call this for the result ID. All right, I'm going to do the same thing again. And this will be for the department code. Let's see, if not result, or whoops, or let's combine this. And if it's less than the min, I think we called it min depth code, or it's greater than the max depth code. Okay, say you must enter a department code between min depth code and max depth code. All right, so that's that one. I don't need radio buttons in here. So I can get rid of that, but we do have to validate for the salary that it is between the value in the salary is between 0 and 1,000,000. So we don't have to do a try parse. I'm going to do one of these. No, we don't want this. We want the is within range. Okay, and we want to say min salary and max salary. All right. If there were any errors, print them out. Otherwise, show success. This is good. All right. We have to write an is valid data. Just copy this. So this will be for our add. Attempt to add. So we'll have something in there. If is valid data. We'll put some code in there. But now I've got to put in the is valid data. Private bool is valid data. And then let's paste that in. Now, I'm not worried. I might have some errors in here, the way that I type, etc. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about that, but I want to just make sure that it's all in here. So private bool. Oh, I guess I already had it in there, so let me get rid of that. All right, I got plenty of errors, so let's fix those. All right. All right. So first thing I want to do, I guess I'll start by going down here looking for my errors. TXT department code, it doesn't like that. Okay, there shouldn't be an underscore in there, so that fixes those. And we'll fix it here too. So the errors are already going down. Now this ID I don't have, so I'm just going to make a couple more global variables here. There was something else in there too. Was it this int DC, and that was the inputted employee department code. All right, so that should get some more of those errors out of there. All right, min depth code. Well, this I can fix. All right, so let's look. I need another paren there. All right, min depth code and max depth code. What did I call those? Thought I put in a bunch of here. Nothing there, so I don't know what I did. So let me bring it. I had a bunch of global constants I thought in here, but that's okay. There will be const int min depth code equal 1, const int max depth code, and that will be equal to 7. Minimum salary, that'll be equal to 0.00 M, and the max salary, which will be equal to $1 million. All right, almost all of my errors are now gone. There's still something, it looks like, that is being flagged. Am I missing a paren there? Okay. All right. So now we're going to attempt to add a record. All right. So the first thing I do want to do in the attempt to add record is I want to set my connection string. All right. Then I'm going to put this whole thing in here. Again, we will put this whole thing in here into a try-catch block. So, like I said, I'm trying to give you some good programming practices in here. I don't know if I'll succeed or not, but we're going to do the best we can. So. Now it is already 11:05, and I said I'm only going till noon, so I may only get done with the ad today. We'll see. All right. So try this. If is valid data, all right, then open the connection. All right. This is one but ugly query. I'm just telling you this right now. Oops, query. Now I wish I'd have saved this, but I didn't, so that's fine. Equals. I'm going to put this on a new line. Okay. Insert into employee. All right. Now I've got to list out all 10 of the fields. So I'm going to do this, and this is going to be really ugly because it's going to go way over here, but this is the way I want to do it. So These are the names that are in the database. First of all, let's come in and double check and make sure I didn't do anything wrong with the names. So move these up. I'll move this over here. Great. Okay, so I want to go into Acme widget, and I want to go into employee, and I want to go into structure. All right, so let's make sure I use the same name. So employee ID, first name, last name, address, city, state code, zip, phone, department code, and salary. Great. All right, so I'm doing an insert statement in here. I mean, hopefully that's obvious. All right. Now, the way I have to do this then, it's really ugly because what I'm doing is I'm trying to write SQL, but I'm writing it in an editor that's in a programming language. So some of the stuff I have to put in here is kind of hinky, for lack of better words. Now I'm putting this over many lines on purpose, so you can hopefully see what I'm doing in here. Probably going to reformat itself at the end anyway. So txt city, txt state, zip, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, phone, That actually should be everything unless I screwed something up, which, as you know, with me is always possible. So let's take a look at it before we go and do anything else here. All right. So what I'm telling it to do is do an insert into the table name. Then you have to list out all of the field names. All right, I put it all on one line so I didn't have to keep putting these pluses in here like I've got. So those are all 10 fields. Then the values are what goes in here. Now it looks like it doesn't like something that I've got in here. There we go. All right, we don't have much more to go, believe it or not. All right. All right, now I'm looking in here and I am closing the connection here, but even if it fails, I want to close the connection anyway. So I think I'm going to move that down and put it into a finally block and move that into here. And then I want to call my upload data again. First, let's do this. Let's see, first of all, if it works, including the error handling. All right. And then let's see, once we get past that point, let's see if it actually puts a new record into the database. Okay, so file, save all. I could have some errors in here very easily. All right, so you can see everything that's in here. First thing I'm going to do is click add, and I should get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, at least 10 errors, if not more. So kind of hard to read. ID is a required field. First name is a required field. Last name is a required field. Address is a required field. City is a required field. State is a required field. Zip is a required field. Phone is a required field. Depth code is a required field. Salary is a required field. ID must be a valid integer. Depth code must be a valid integer. Salary must be a valid, oh, that shouldn't have said integer, so we'll fix that. You must enter a positive number for employee ID, and you must enter a department code between 1 and 7. That's pretty darn good. All right, so let's fix those. Try that again. So I've got to fix, need a line break there. And for the salary, it should say decimal. Yeah, that should have been decimal here. That's the problem. Okay. Not a decimal 32, just a decimal. Is a decimal. There we go. That'll fix that. And for the last thing that we're printing in here, well, let's check and see if we fixed one of the errors at least. So salary must be a valid decimal value. You must enter a positive number for the employee where it says you must enter employee code. I'm not getting a line break there. Right here. I don't know why I'm not getting a line break there, but I'm going to put one in. All right. ID is a required field. First name is a required field. Last name is a required field. Address is a required field. City is a required field. State is a required field. Zip is a required field. Phone is a required field, etc. All right. Let's do this. Let's put a number in here that's out of range. So negative 55. Now I'm gonna start filling these in. So Jeff, let's do John Doe. I want to do somebody I know who's not in there. Stacy Stevens. Okay, 123 Main Street. Let's say that they're in O'Fallon. I don't want to. Let's say they're in St. Charles. No idea what the area code is there. Let's put one of these in that's out of range, and let's put a salary in that's out of range. So this should be an error. So that should be one error. That's valid. That's valid. Valid, 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 valid. That's invalid, and that's invalid. I want to see if I'm going to get 3 errors here. And I do. You must enter a positive number for the employee ID. You must enter a department code between 1 and 7, and salary must be between 0 and $1 million. All right. So let's come in here and let's see if we can get an employee in here. So I'm going to put in a number that I know is not in there. So 1,000, Stacy Stevens, et cetera, et cetera. We'll say her department code is 4 and her salary is $56,789 right there. That's all valid stuff. Let's see if we can add Stacy Stevens. And there is Stacy Stevens. All right, so she has been added. So that works. That's a great start. Now I'm going to stop the run. I'm going to go back into the database. And I'm going to do another select star from employees and see if Stacy Stevens has been put in there also. And there she is. So that's all working. All right. We are able to go in and insert an employee. It's a great start. All right. Now we want to be able to go in and update an employee. All right. Well, that's going to necessitate a little bit of stuff. What do I mean? Well, what we want to do is if we come in here and we click on an employee, we want all of their information to be filled in these 10 boxes. As of right now, that isn't happening. All right. And the way that we can make that happen is we can come into here and put something. I don't want it in the cell content click, so I shouldn't have done that. I want it in the cell click. Okay, I shouldn't have double clicked on it like I did. So let me go back to this, go over to here, find that one I put in. into here. Get rid of that. Let's make sure it removed it. And it did. All right, now let's go into cell click. So this is saying whenever we click in here, all right, we want to fill up the 10 employee text boxes. Now I've already got the code, but let's take a look at it. It's a little bit weird probably when you first take a look. And I like lining this stuff up like little soldiers, just because I think it makes it easier to read. All right. So I'm making it a little smaller so you can see all of it. Now, notice that the value in the text box, is now on the left-hand side of the equal sign. So what I'm telling it to do is to go out to the data grid view for whatever row I'm on. All right, and it should be 0 because it's the one I just selected. The first cell should be the ID. The second cell, the first name. The third cell, the last name. The fourth cell, the address. The fifth cell, the city. The sixth cell, the state. The seventh cell, the zip code. The eighth cell, the phone. The ninth cell, the department code. And the 10th cell, the salary. All right, notice that we grabbed the value of each one of those and we did a toString. All right, just to be sure that because what we want to put into text boxes are text. Now, again, I don't know if this is going to work or not. So file, save all. All right, let's try Wilma Flintstone. And you'll notice she's in there. All right, that's good. Let's change. Let's try Taylor Scott. And that's in there. Let's try Barney Rubble. And it does appear as if all that is working. All right. So right now we have our exit button working, our clear button working, our add button working. All right. Let's go up to update next. Okay. Plus, when we're doing our add, when we do our add, when we do that, all right, we are able to go in and do our validation. Okay. All right. Now, it's kind of there's so many things that could be improved in this, such as when I bring this up, when I bring up existing data, this should be read only. You shouldn't be able to change an ID. All right. So there's a lot of stuff like that that could be fixed on this program. All right. I would like to have the time to go back and change that. So rather than that, it actually shows the department. So there's all sorts of tweaks that could be done on this. But for right now, it's getting there. Okay. So let's go in and look at what we have next here. All right. And that's an attempt to update a record. All right. So when we click update, we're calling attempt to update a record, and that's the routine here. First thing we want to do, just like we did before, is we want to come in and call our set connection string. Now this is a really long record or long method, this attempt to add record. I really should have broken it down. You know, maybe I could have done each one of these in their own routine. I didn't. All right, I'm adding this stuff on the fly. This is already 350 55 lines. We still have more to add. All right. The one that I did was 257 lines. So you can already see I put more into this than what we had, what I had done previously. All right, so let's come in here and attempt to update a record. So again, first I'm going to call set connection string. And just as before, all right, I'm going to put everything into a try catch. All right, so we've got that. So let's come in and try doing this. So let's open the connection. Now, this is where I had some problems. I'm not going to lie to you here. This is where I had some problems when I was working on this. So I'm not going to guarantee that as of right now, the update is going to work. All right. Okay. Oh, I did this, but I did. I think I've already done this. I don't think I need to instantiate that. I think that should already be there. Let's just see. Do I have an SQL CMD up on the top? Like I said, I wrote this last night while watching a little bit of the women's soccer. No, I'm not making excuses. Should have done a better job. So SQL CMD. So I've got that already, so I don't need to add another one of those. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Now this is going to be an update. All right. Like I said, no guarantees that this is going to work. All right. Let me go back. I managed to kind of get my notes out of order here. Here it is. All right. So again, this is a very long line. Now I've got the @ sign here. You're going to see this in all of these. The reason that that's important All right, the reason that that is important is we want to be doing this in real time. So we want to be updating all the fields that are basically in our text box or in the text boxes. Set this. Well, I want to look at the names in here. Employee ID, first name, last name, address, city, state, code. So, okay. So first. So right now I have put in the employee ID, first name, last name, address, city, state. Oh, it's got to be state code. Okay. And then zip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 down to 5 to go. Yep. State code, zip, phone, department code, and salary. So this should be state code. Zip. I think it's department code and salary that's left. Phone, department code, and salary. All right, that's the one update statement. All right. Now we have to basically associate. All right. And if you say, what do you mean associate? Well, we have to let the system know in here. We have to let the system know that at first name is txt first name dot text. At last name is txt last name dot text, etc. So associate the at parameters with their respective text box values. So there'll be 10 of these. SQL CMD dot parameters dot add with value. And this is what we're going to put in here 10 times. So for the at employee ID, it is txt employee, oh, I'm sorry, txt ID dot text. We got to do this 10 times. So, all right, so the next one will be first name. And we've got last name. Then we've got address. Again, I just like to line things up because I think it makes it easier to read. City, state, and zip. Okay, and zip code. And then we've got phone. Department code. And finally, salary. Well, that's everything. All right. Now, in the past, when we did our select statement, all right, we ran a query and we ran an execute query. All right. But now we're not actually getting anything returned. So what I mean is we actually come in here and we run CLD CMD dot execute non-query. All right. We do an execute query if it's a select. This is not a select. This is an update. So we're doing a non-query. It's not going to return a value. All right. When we get done, we're going to close the connection. And we're going to call our upload data. And as you can see, I did not, whoops, put a semicolon on the end. So our upload data. Now, again, I don't know right now if this is going to work or not. And as you can see, we're now up over just about 400 lines. All right. So let me do a save on this. Let's see if we can do an update. I don't know if we can or not. All right. So let's grab me. Okay. Index was out of range. Must be non-negative and less than the size of the collection. That ain't a good start. All right. So there I am. Let's change me to Jeffrey. All right. Let's change the address to 751. Let's keep the phone number. Let's change the department code to 4. And let's change the salary to 77777. All right. Don't know if it'll work or not. Now let's call update. All right. Fatal error encountered during command execution. And it did not change anything. Parameter at employee ID has already been defined. We're not trying to update it though. Huh. It doesn't like this. Oh, I know what it is. I think I know what it is. All right. When we come back here and we're running this query, all right, let's not include the ID. Okay, so I'm not going to set the ID because it's already been set. All right, so let me try that. File, save all. And let's bring me up. Again, I'll make it Jeffrey. We'll make this a 1, 4, and I really got a big raise. Okay, and update. No. Fatal error encountered during command execution. Let's try it again. Parameter first name has already been defined. Now we're getting this for all of these. It appears because it just moved down. So I'm going to have to investigate what the problem is because right now I don't know. All right, but I want to see if we can add the delete. Just do that because it's not a lot, and we'll do that, and then we're going to call it a period. All right, so I'm going to stop this. I'm going to go down to my delete, attempt to delete record. We're going to again start by calling set connection string. And again, we're going to use a try catch block. There's the time where that show message came in handy. All right. I don't know if this will work either, to be honest with you. So let's open the connection. Right. Let's set the connection. All right, now we're going to try to do the query. Now, I shouldn't say that. Before we try to do the query, all right, I'm going to ask the user, are you sure you want to do this? And we've already done this kind of thing before. So inside of here, and I cheated a little bit. I'm going to show you how I cheated a little bit in just a minute. Oops, that is what I wanted. All right. There we go. And that's it. All right. So we're going to ask, are you sure you want to delete this? And if it is equal to yes, we'll do the commands. Now, luckily, this is not a big command. And I'm looking at my own code here to see if I made a mistake, which is possible. right. Text. Tell it to run the query using our connection. And then close. Now, it's kind of weird the way this works because I still have to come in here and do this. And that's remove. Remove. Come on, Jeff. There. Finally, when we're all done, we're going to put another finally in here. And I think I'm going to do like before. I'm going to close the connection. And I'm going to call upload data. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work or not. All right, so file, save all. All right. So we want to come in and we want to grab Stacy Stevens and we want to delete her. Now this is where I cheated. I should have done whatever I needed to do to say, are you sure you want to delete Stacy Stevens? But I didn't. So I said, employee record. If I say yes, it does look like it's gone. All right, she is still showing in here. I don't want that. That's very confusing. So the other thing that I should do too is when I get done and I run the command, if it all worked like this, if everything worked, all right, I should call my clear routine like that. All right, now let's go ahead and check. And we're going to see if she is indeed out of this database. So I'm going to refresh the database, run the command again, and see if Stacy Stevens has been removed. She has not. So she is still in here. So it is not removing her from the database. So what does that mean? Well, let's take a look. Oops, I don't want to do that. I want to come back in here. Now, well, let's see. Is Stacy Stevens back in here now? Yes, she is. So it is just saving, it is getting rid of a copy. It's not getting rid of her. All right, so what do I have to do? Well, for Monday, I haven't implemented this at all, so I have to implement the search capability. The ad appears to be working fine. The update, I believe, was working okay. Let's see when we go back and look in here. That wasn't changed. Let's quickly run this and do an update. And I'll just change Jeff to Jeffrey and make no other change. So update. Oh, that's right. We still have problems with that. So update has got a couple problems, delete has got a couple problems, and the last name search has to be implemented. So you can see how complex this can get. All right. I'm already up now to 430 lines, and I'm still going to have to add a little bit more. All right. If I can get this done over the weekend, and I'm hoping that I can. All right. Then what I'm going to do is attempt to add the other two tables in here. All right. We'll see how that works, or if that even works. So let's do this for now. Do a file, save all. You've seen all this before. All right. And this is under make sure I'm doing the right one here. Lou, yes, that's the right one. So in here, in the MySQL con, I'm going to come in to my git bash here, do all the good stuff you always see me do, git init, git add dot, git commits -m, I am losing it at the end of the period here. Acme Winch. $727.7 like that. That'll work. Okay. Now let's go and create quickly a repo with that name so I can put that out there so you can all look at it if you are so inclined. There it is. It's not complete yet, but that will be the associated GitHub repository right there. Okay. All right. It is 11:57. I promised I'd finish at noon. It's 3 minutes early. So on Monday of next week, I've already told you, it is my responsibility now to come back in here and to make sure that I'm going to implement the search make sure the update works correctly and that the delete works correctly. The delete works, but it only removes it from the data grid view. It's not removing it from the database. So I'm missing something. The update is giving me major issues. So I'll have to look at that as well. Okay. With that said, hopefully you got something out of the period today. I will talk to you Monday. Please have a nice weekend. See you Monday.